Welcome to the Ortho video series. These tapes are designed for you and me, the average homeowner. We'll see ordinary people in real-life situations complete a variety of home improvement and repair projects. And we'll be given step-by-step information that we need to successfully complete the jobs ourselves. Each video in this series has been produced in segments, much like chapters in a book. Each segment is identified by a color and number which corresponds to the titles listed in your video package. Before you view the project segment that you're interested in, set the counter on your video recorder to 0, and as you view each segment for the first time, jot down your counter numbers in the boxes provided on the inside of the package. In the future, use these numbers for quick access to the information you want, when you want it. There is no need to watch this video all the way through. Feel free to fast forward to any segment that you're interested in, or reverse it to a specific section you'd like to see again. Then replay it and study the particular information in detail. I'm sure you have a project that you're eager to get started on. Enjoy the program. The purpose of this videotape is to acquaint you and me, the average homeowner, with a number of ways in which we can beautify our yards or increase their comfort and make them easier to maintain. We will see homeowners like us complete a variety of small and large projects, from building a simple trellis to installing their own outdoor lighting. Each segment in this video will cover a specific outdoor building project. They are ordered in the following sequence: installing low-voltage lighting, planter box trellis, installing a wooden gate, building an overhead shade structure, brick on sand patio, building concrete paths, mortaring a brick planter, extending sprinkler and drip systems. These segments cover many of the common skills that we'll need to do any size project: carpentry, concrete work, electrical and plumbing jobs outside our houses. So sit back and choose the project that you'd like to tackle, and then watch it several times to see the skills involved. Oh, and be sure to ask your local home center or hardware store for advice. The lamp over the front porch used to be the extent of outdoor lighting. Today, more and more homeowners are experiencing the special beauty that well-designed, low-voltage lighting brings to their gardens at night. A magical mood and atmosphere that can be enjoyed from indoors as well as outdoors. On the practical side, it can light driveways and patios and walkways so we can see where we're going. By lighting the ground and eliminating shadows, it discourages intruders. It also allows us to use our yards at night for relaxing and entertaining or just strolling. Many of us have admired the outdoor lighting of others, so let's learn how easy it is to install it ourselves.
Hi, good to see you. Go on in, I'll be there in a minute.
Hey, what great looking lights.
Thanks.
Who did it for you?
Well, I did it myself.
Really?
I sure did.
Wasn't that dangerous?
No, these are 12-volt lights. It didn't require any major electrical work.
So how do you tie it all in? The circuit box?
No. Low-voltage lights like these, well, they use a transformer, and it plugs right into an outlet.
That's great. So how do you install them?
First thing you do is lay out where you want the lights. Put a stake at each location, and if you have a variety of fixtures, mark it, telling you the type and where it should point. Once you have the lights located, find an outlet that's near the center of your lighting plan. Install the transformer there. As with any outlet, be sure it is protected by a ground fault interrupter device. The lighting cable should spread out from the transformer, like spokes in a wheel. If you need it, mark the cable runs with agricultural lime or baking flour to guide you when you dig the trenches. Before digging your trench, remove the ground cover and save it for later replacement. Then start digging out to the fixtures. Lay the cables and attach the fixtures according to the manufacturer's instructions.
Hold it. Don't you have to put electrical wiring through conduit?
Well, in most areas, 12-volt lighting isn't required to use conduit. But I checked with our local building inspection department just in case.
These fixtures are self-connecting, but with others, you'll need to seal the connectors with the electrical sealant specified by the manufacturer. When they're connected, push them into the fixture. They have to be above ground. If you bury them, they'll probably corrode.
Then, mount the transformer and plug it into the outlet. There are just two requirements. One, the outlet has to be on a switch, or the transformer has to have a switch built into it. This one has a switch and a clock. Two, the transformer has to be on a GFCI protected receptacle.
What does GFCI mean?
GFCI stands for Ground Fault Circuit Interrupter. It's a safety device that interrupts a circuit in about 1/40th of a second if it senses current leaks that could shock someone. Usually, outdoor circuits are already protected by a GFCI, but if not, you can always install one yourself. You can buy a GFCI that'll fit into the space of a standard wall receptacle, or you can buy add-ons that'll turn any outlet into a GFCI protected circuit.
You know, these could have been installed by a professional.
But we know better. Come on, let's go join the party.
Let's remember to plan our outdoor lighting carefully so that our fixtures won't interfere with routine yard or garden maintenance. Some of us may not have a lot of time to spend in our garden or a lot of room to work because of a small yard or patio. How about building a simple trellis above a planter box? There are few things that are lovelier than a trellis covered with scented roses or climbing vines. Let's see how easy it is to add a simple trellis to our yard or patio.
Well, building a trellis onto this planter will improve the patio so much.
Maybe we can plant some wisteria.
That would be nice. But first we have to build it.
What do we have to do?
Well, first we're going to measure the depth of this box.
Won't Dad be so surprised?
Oh, you betcha. He's going to be so happy. All right, now first I have to mark the holes for the bolts on this 2x4.
Okay. 3.5.
That's right. 3.5 here.
Okay.
And 6.5. Right. All right, now I'm going to drill through them both at the same time. So will you hold the end for me,
Sure.
please? Okay, now the holes need to be big enough for a 3/8 inch diameter bolt, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. What we need to do now is bolt this into the side of the planter box.
Okay, at the end?
Yeah, at the end. Take that over. Okay. Now, first we have to make this level. You want to do that?
Okay. Okay, just slide it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just like that. How is it?
Right there.
Okay, wait, we have to mark it. Drill holes in the planter box and attach the 2x4 uprights with bolts and washers. Okay, yours tight?
Yep.
All right. Now, what we need to do is cut another 2x4 for the top. Want to hold this?
that?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Right. Okay.
How long?
47 3/4. Now we need to cut this one so we have something to attach the lath to.
Okay, all that?
Yes.
Cut, then pre-drill holes for the nails and nail to the uprights.
Now we're ready to nail up the lath with these galvanized box nails.
Okay.
Okay, I need you to hold the sledgehammer behind where I'm going to be hammering for support.
Where?
Right there, like that. Good. Okay. There we go. Ooh. There.
Got it.
Yeah, boy, am I glad we got this prefab lath. It makes it so much easier.
But we could have made our own design by nailing up the lath strips, right?
Right? Here we go. Careful. I'm trying. Okay, this is our last one.
All right.
Okay. There. Done. Well, it's beautiful.
And we're ready to plant.
Yeah.
Maybe wisteria.
Right.
Building a trellis onto a redwood planter sure looks easy, doesn't it? Well, let's take a look at a building project that is a little more ambitious. I have a rickety old gate that squeaks and drags every time I open or close it. I've thought about replacing it, but I'm not sure how to build a new one properly. Maybe you have a similar problem. Right now is as good a time as any to learn how. Let's see how to build and mount a new gate.
Hey, Michael, that looks great. You know, I've been thinking about putting a gate into the fence around my yard. Let me tell you how I did it.
First, I decided to install a gate at the natural pathway. I began by setting the gate post. I measured a 3-foot space along the fence string line and marked the points for my gate post with tape. I dug a hole 3 foot deep using a clamshell digger. An auger would have worked too, but a shovel creates too large a hole for a fence or gate post. The wood for my post is a 6x6 made of all-heart redwood. All-heart cedar or any pressure-treated wood would have also worked well. I made sure the hole was dug deep enough and wide enough for my post. To help protect the post from rot and help with drainage, I filled the bottom of the hole with 4 to 6 inches of gravel. There should be at least 2 inches of gravel covering the base of the post. I checked the plumb on either side of the post, then nailed temporary braces to hold the post plumb while I got ready for the next stage. I filled the rest of the hole with concrete and built a mound around the post to let the water drain away from the wood. In heavy frost areas, I would have dug a 3-foot hole and poured a foot of concrete. Then, add gravel to fill it 6 inches below the surface. Fill the rest with concrete and wedge shingles coated with motor oil on each side of the post. Once the concrete is set up, remove the shingles and fill the gaps with tar or caulking. With my post set, I began to build the gate. I cut the top and bottom of the gate frame 1 inch shorter than the gate opening, to leave a 1/2 inch on each side of the gate for swing clearance, hinges, and the latch. To secure the frame, I used galvanized deck screws rather than nails. Next, I added the cross brace. I measured the length by placing the frame on top of the wood for the brace and penciled in the corners. Then, I attached the cross brace with screws, remembering that it should run from the lower hinge side to the upper latch side. Then I set the hinges, using the same galvanized screws. To hang the gate, I set it in place, using blocks and shims to hold it at the correct level. Drill and lock the hinge in place with screws. And after the gate was hung, I installed a latch and a gate spring to keep it closed. And the gate was finished.
Sounds so easy.
It wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought it was going to be.
It's always nice to sit outdoors in the summer, to have lunch on the patio and relax with friends and family when the days are too nice to stay indoors. But nicer still would be to have some overhead shade to protect us from the sun, yet still give us that feeling of being outdoors in the fresh air. How difficult is it to build an overhead shade structure for our patio? Let's see a basic building plan that might work well for us.
Well, how are you today?
Just fine, thanks. Listen, I need to buy some lumber, but I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for.
Well, maybe I can help you out there. What are you going to build?
An overhead shade structure.
Something for the backyard, right?
Right.
Well, the first thing to consider is, will the wood come in contact with dirt or not? Now, if it doesn't, well, you can use any kind of wood, as long as it's coated with a water-repellent sealer or painted.
But if it's outside, in contact with dirt, well, then you need heartwood of cypress, redwood, or cedar, or a pressure-treated wood. Now, most garden projects require standard-grade light framing lumber. And you can buy this lumber in dimension wood, like 2x4s, 2x6s. Then there are boards used for surfacing. Now, board wood is graded for its appearance and comes in measurements like 1x8 and 1x10. Then there are timbers and beams. Now, timbers and beams measure 4x6 and larger and are used for supporting framework. They are graded both for strength and for appearance. When you buy lumber, well, look for cracks and structural flaws. You see, lumber comes in two types of surfaces, rough and S4S, which stands for surfaced four sides. Like this redwood post. I figure you probably need redwood.
You're right. I need 2 lengths of 4x4, S4S, 10 feet long.
Oh, now you're getting the hang of it. By the way, you are going to use this soon, aren't you?
Uh-huh. This weekend.
Oh, good. Just asking, because if you let green lumber lie around too long, it warps. Once it's nailed in place, it's fine.
This wood won't have a chance to warp. We're going to get started right away.
Good.
Ready to start?
Yeah, let me just look at the plans.
Okay, what we have to do first is find the wall studs or the floor framing to bolt the ledger to. Let me show you a trick I use. Okay, the floor framing is usually within 6 to 12 inches below the interior floor level. Now I'll use this window as a reference. Now I went inside and I measured from the windowsill to the floor. Now on the outside, I measure down and then add 6 inches. Okay, lift your end a bit. Okay, a little more. Whoa, that levels it. Okay, we'll put the braces in, and that'll hold it until we can get the lag bolts in. Okay, just like I did on the other side, I'm going to put a couple washers between the ledger and the wall to create a space for air circulation. To determine the height of the posts, I measured the distance from the bottom of the ledger to the deck.
Okay, I'll nail these post anchors into the deck. Well, you cut the postal length.
Okay. Oh, you want to get the braces?
Sure.
Okay, nail those temporary braces in. Okay. Now we'll secure the uprights. Up and in. Alrighty, shim your end up a bit.
Okay.
All right, that's great. Okay, while you nail the beam in, I'm going to go nail the joist hangers in for the rafters. Now hand me up one of those rafters, will you?
Coming up. How far apart are you spacing these?
24 inches on center. That ought to give the roof plenty of support. All right, up a bit. All right, up a bit more. Yeah, that's great. Did you double check the angles on that brace?
Sure did. 45 degrees at each end.
Great. Now make sure that's bolted tight, and we only got one more thing to do. Okay, hand that next one up here.
Okay.
All right, put it right in next to the spacer. And tack your end in. Okay, let's take the spacer out. And we'll put it here. Okay, hand up the next one. All right, it's lined up. Okay, tack it in. looks great.
Sure does. Thanks a lot for helping.
Oh, I got an idea. Let's sit down and enjoy this thing before we clean up.
Oh, sounds good to me.
An overhead shade structure will not only improve the look of our patios, but we can add greenery to it with potted plants or vines. The warmth and charm of a brick patio can transform even the most common backyard into an ideal setting for a quiet weekend or a summer barbecue. One of the pleasures of working with brick is that we don't have to be experts to get the effects we want. Let's see what the average person, with a little help, can do to install a brick patio without any cement in just one weekend.
Okay, here's the back wall,
Okay.
and here's the front.
Okay, now don't forget the posts. We do need to go around those.
Okay. But how are we going to know how much brick we'll need?
That's easy. My dad, the contractor, he told me that there's 5 bricks to every square foot of patio. So we need to know how many square feet our patio is. There's a couple different ways to do that. See, we could outline the shape on graph paper with each square equal to 1 square foot.
But since our patio is a rectangle, we could just measure length times width.
Okay, now multiply that number by 5, and that'll tell us how many bricks we need. Oh, and don't forget, add an extra 5% for cut bricks and breakage.
What about the pattern?
Here, take a look at this. This is jack on jack. There's basket weave. Oh, and down here, diagonal herringbone. The trouble is, the more complex the pattern, the more cuts we need to make, which makes the layout much more difficult. So, I figure we should do running bond. It would be simple, yet still attractive.
That's a great idea. Now, I figure we could put the patio furniture right over here.
All right, let's put flowers against this wall. They look really nice.
All right, we'll put the table there. We really appreciate you coming over like this to help us.
Listen, it's lots of fun, and besides, you guys, you're going to help me build my patio.
Uh-oh. Come on, let's get going here.
There you go, take one of these.
What are these for?
Well, these are going to be our header boards.
Header boards? What do we need header boards for?
Well, you know the bricks in the center are loose, right? So unless we surround them with a sturdy border, they're going to shift all around on us. But we're going to build a simpler border. We're going to place a 2x header around the perimeter, and it's going to be high enough to hold the bricks and sand in place. Well, you can go for it. That's the last one.
Okay.
Well, we need to make some drainage holes, and we'll place them about 12 inches on center. I think that should about do this. Now we're going to put 2 inches of sand all over. Come on, let's go. Climate's subject to freezing. You should put down 4 inches of sand, then your layer of bricks. Now look, guys, this is a screed. I've cut a notch so it can ride on the headboard. The other side rides on our 2x4 against the wall, and we just draw it across the sand to level a base for our brick. Have a brick, please. You lay brick by placing each one straight down. If you slide one in from the side, you trap sand between the bricks. You tap each one in place with a mallet then. Now we'll tap the bricks down to make sure they're in position and check each row with our level. If we find a brick that's not level, then we'll take it out and either add enough sand or take enough away. And that looks pretty good. Check it one more time. Sue, you see this? We need to cut some half bricks. So if you get me a brick, the chisel, and a hammer, I'll show you what to do. And don't forget the goggles so you don't get chips flying in your eyes. And now, I want you to score all the way around the middle of the brick using that brick set. But when you use that brick set it with the beveled edge of the blade facing the side of the brick we're going to throw away. That's it. Now make sure you get good indentations on all four sides. That's it, great. Now go ahead and give it a sharp whack with the mallet. There, we got a half brick. Then chip away the rough edges. If you have a lot of bricks to cut, it's worth it to rent a power cutter, but I think we'll do fine as we are. Well, you've really got the hang of it now. Here's another group of bricks. Thanks. Yeah, that's it. Keep shoveling a thin layer of dry sand on the bricks and we'll sweep it in.
Okay.
That's great. That's it. What do you guys think?
We couldn't have done it without you, Dad.
It really looks great. Now let's bring out the patio furniture.
Okay, come on.
In the years to come, we'll spend many afternoons on our new patio. Knowing that we designed it and built it ourselves is bound to make it all the more enjoyable. Most of us want a yard that has a clean, well-kept look, but at the same time is low maintenance. What better building material to fit both these needs than concrete? A well-designed concrete walkway through a yard, near a pool, or from the patio to the side of the house is both decorative and easy to maintain. But what if we've never worked with concrete? Let's take a look at what is actually involved.
Before building my walkway, I took some time to study my yard. I knew a walkway didn't have to be built in a straight line. It can be more interesting if it meanders between shrubbery, leads to some unexpected destination, or curves attractively to the front steps and porch. After I had an idea of what I wanted, I consulted a local expert at my home center. He helped me to draw up plans that allowed me to build my design quickly and easily. The plan incorporated a row of terracotta bricks every 6 to 8 feet to help break up the blandness of the solid concrete slabs, as well as help with the expansion and contraction of the concrete. A garden hose was a useful way to lay out the boundaries of my design. Then I removed the top 4 inches of soil and vegetation so the finished walkway would be level with the ground. Poorly drained soil requires a 2 to 4 inch bed of sand beneath the concrete to provide drainage. Since my soil drains well, the concrete was poured directly onto the ground. To shape the walkway, I constructed frames using boards staked into place. I drove stakes into the ground on the outside of the form boards. Then I nailed the boards to the stakes. For forms that remained permanently in the concrete, I used woods that wouldn't rot, like all-heart redwood or cedar. For either temporary or permanent curved forms, I used 1/4 inch laminated bender boards. I fit the boards to the desired shape and secured them with the wood stakes. To help prevent the walkway from cracking due to frost heave or other settling, I placed reinforcing rod, as local code required, on the soil bed before pouring the concrete. Time was an important factor when pouring the concrete. I had to complete the work before the concrete hardened, so I arranged for friends to assist me. I had already broken up the work into smaller framed areas with my brick pattern, and we completed each area separately. I worked the concrete into the forms as it was being poured. This released air pockets and helped to consolidate it and spread it evenly. I was careful not to overwork it, or the heavy aggregates would have separated from the mix. The next step was to level the concrete with a 2x4 strike-off board.
Okay, scraped in front.
There were depressions, so we shoveled excess concrete into low spots as needed.
There we go. A little more.
Then we continued leveling with the strike-off board. Immediately after striking off, we used wood floats to further level the surface. We raised the leading edge to avoid digging into the concrete. A trowel was used to cut off spillover concrete. We had to wait for the water sheen to disappear before continuing. This can take anywhere from a few minutes to over an hour, depending on the temperature. When the water sheen disappeared and the mix set up, we worked around the forms with an edger. This not only improved the appearance, but protected the edges from chipping.
There are many different ways to finish concrete. The wood float by itself leaves a non-skid surface, good for walks and patios. A broom finish gives the surface a rougher texture. Using a steel float can leave a non-skid surface, or a smoother, more polished surface, though it may become slippery when wet. Choose a surface that will be appropriate for your yard and lifestyle.
I chose another popular finish, exposed aggregate. Just when the sheen had evaporated, my friend sprinkled stones evenly over the surface. Then we pressed them securely into the surface with the wood floats. After the concrete began to set up and was no longer workable, I washed away the surface concrete to expose the aggregate. Any residual film was washed off with a hose. To cure the concrete, I had two choices. One was to keep the concrete surface moist for the first 12 hours. The other choice, the one I decided on, was to cover the walkway with plastic weighted at the edges to trap all the moisture. After about 5 days, the walkway was strong and durable and ready for use.
A concrete walk can be shaped or colored, finished in many different ways. It's really up to us. So have fun with it. But remember to plan carefully. Concrete is permanent. A few brick planter boxes filled with bright flowers can add charm and color to any yard or patio. But brick and mortar can seem pretty mysterious to those of us who haven't tried our hand at it. In this next segment, we'll see how it's done by someone who is no more of a professional bricklayer than you or me.
Let's see. Before I can begin laying brick, I need to pour a concrete footing about twice as thick as the wall. I'll dig the trench deep enough for a 6 to 12 inch thick footing that will be 2 to 3 inches below ground level. Pour concrete to within 2 or 3 inches of the surface so the ground will cover it. Now, smooth the top and let the concrete harden. I want to center the wall on the footing, so I'll dry bond the first course of bricks. I love this idea for spacing bricks, old mason's trick. Well, I know all the bricks fit correctly. Now, to mortar them in place. The bonding agent is already dry. Here we go. This is the tricky part. Remember, don't just dribble the mortar onto the concrete. Throw it so the impact bonds it to the surface. Now I spread this about 3/4 of an inch thick and make this little furrow to help seal the mortar and the top brick together. Then give it a wrap to make sure it's seated properly. Okay, now I need a half brick to account for the offset of the second course. Mark where you want the cut. Score the outside of the brick and hit it hard. Now, before the mortar gets too hard, I tool the head joints. Then the bed joints. And the planter's finished. I'll keep it moist for several days so cracking doesn't occur. Just like a pro.
It looks like building a brick planter is a lot easier than we might have thought. With the right preparation and tools, anyone can do it. But don't tell your neighbors. Just let them admire your brickwork. As those of us who have gardens know, hand watering is gentle and accurate, but it's time-consuming. In fact, during the summer, it threatens to become a full-time occupation. Let's see how to modify our existing sprinkler system to not only water our lawn, but also irrigate our flower beds.
Can I look yet?
No. Just keep your eyes closed. I'll tell you when. All right? Now you can look.
Oh, you put in a sprinkler.
Yeah. Well, I put in a drip irrigation system to water the flowers, and I put in another sprinkler to water the new section of the lawn.
That's wonderful. Did you do this while I was away?
Yeah. Well, it was easy. Well, I knew you were getting tired of watering by hand, and I figured I could just add on to the system we already had. So I talked to a sales clerk at the hardware store. Well, he got me pointed in the right direction. He said, before I started, I first had to figure out if our existing system could handle the extra load. Well, the whole process for figuring that out was described in a brochure he gave me. It included a convenient form to help estimate the parts and quantities I would need for the job.
It seems like an awful lot of work.
No, it was actually pretty easy. Once I figured out how much water was available and what type of sprinklers we'd be adding, well, I sat down and drew up some plans. I closed the sprinkler system shutoff valve and located where I wanted to tie into the old system. I laid out the plan. I dug trenches about 6 inches deep. Then I began assembling the pipe.
I didn't know we had the right tools to cut pipe.
Well, it's plastic pipe, PVC, polyvinyl chloride to be exact. All you do is cut it with a hacksaw. Smooth the edge, then paint it with solvent. You push one of the pieces into the other, give it a quarter turn to lock it together, then you wipe off the excess and bingo, it's sealed.
It's a lot like building models as a kid.
I think that's why you did it. You're just building bigger models now.
Anyway, when I'd hooked everything together, I turned the sprinkler on to clean the system and check for leaks. Everything was fine, so I attached the sprinkler heads and filled in the trenches.
I added piping from the old system to a riser adapter for the drip irrigation system, then continued it over to the new sprinkler. This main tubing leads right down the center of the bed.
See, it comes out here, connects to the riser adapter that allows me to hook the drip system to the PVC. The drip system was easy to install.
And these feeder lines come off of the main tubing and go to an emitter at each plant.
The feeder line connects by poking the fitting through a hole you've punched in the main tube. No glue, no clamps, easy. You cut the feeder line to the correct length with a knife and plug in the emitters. You can buy different emitters that water trees, mist plants, or sprinkle ground cover.
With this system, I could add on to the garden again.
That would be great.
Now that we've extended our underground sprinkler system, we'll have more time to enjoy our garden as well as try other outdoor projects. In this videotape, we've seen how easy it is for homeowners to improve their yards or gardens with a few basic construction jobs. Plus, the segments have illustrated many common techniques needed to do other projects. Not only will these projects beautify the home, but they will also add value to the property. With a little practice, we can all do them. Remember to take the time to plan carefully. Check local codes, and if you need help or advice, consult a local expert. Thanks for joining me in this Ortho home video.